Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on? YouTube, good morning, everybody. It's early today. It's about 5 a.m. on Wednesday, December 7th. Got a video for you guys. We're going to be covering a lot of different topics. We're going to be kind of running through the news, talking about the economy, talking about inflation, talking about the coming recession, talking about some news involving Shopify, Elon Musk, Jamie Dimon, Chase, and a lot of different things. This is actually my second attempt at making the video. The first story I wanted to cover today was about the IRS's new $600 rule, where people are going to be getting 1099-Ks. My first attempt at making this video, we were like 7 minutes in, and I was still on the same story. So I think maybe we'll do a video completely dedicated to this new IRS rule. I don't want to focus too much on any one of these stories because these videos wind up getting way too long. So let's just get into this. So, first off, January 1st, the IRS continues to remind people of this new $600 reporting rule, effective January 1st. One thing that's kind of disgusting about this, Biden put this through, quote unquote, in an effort to make sure billionaires pay their fair share. Obviously, we have billionaires and huge corporations who pay either no taxes or next to no taxes, yet Biden is going after, little side hustlers, little eBay sellers. I'm going to make a video going into this topic in a little bit more depth, but essentially what it is, in the past, you would only be issued a 1099-K if, for example, on eBay, you did over 200 transactions and sold 20K worth of goods. If you sold 10K but did 300 transactions, no 1099. You sold 21K but only did 100 transactions, no 1099. You had to meet both those conditions. Well, the new rule, if you in a given year receive over $600 through any given platform, you're going to be issued a 1099-K. Even though technically you owe taxes on any money you earn, it seemed to be kind of a situation where the government was willing to kind of like look the other way and wasn't going to be too strict on side hustlers and small businesses. It kind of allows the small businesses to grow, and then once they grow to a point where they're larger, then you owe taxes definitely, and we're going to monitor that. But it kind of allowed businesses to kind of get off the ground. The problem with this new rule, if you go out to dinner with a group of friends regularly and your friends pay you back with Venmo or Stripe or PayPal or Zelle, if over the course of a year you receive over $600, you're going to get a 1099. To the IRS, it looks like you've received, we'll say $2,500. In reality, this is just your friends paying you back for dinner, but now it's on you to document that this wasn't earned money. Also, let's just say, for example, some 18-year-old kid buys a cell phone for $1,500. A couple years later, he sells it on eBay for $800. eBay/Adyen is going to tell the IRS this 18-year-old kid made $800. In reality, he doesn't owe taxes. It was a loss. But if this 18-year-old kid doesn't know how to properly file his taxes, he's going to wind up paying taxes on an item that he shouldn't be paying taxes on. The government's going to wind up over collecting money, and this is kind of a disaster. I know Republicans and Democrats are coming together to try to revise this law and make it $5,000 instead of $600. And I think this is kind of how we the people wind up getting screwed over by the government. It's like you used to have 20K and 200 transactions. They come and make it $600, get everybody upset. Fuck Biden, coming after small-time resellers or people getting paid back for dinner. And then they come in and say, we're going to give you 5K. Well, it's 75% worse than the rule was before, but I guess it's better than $600. So, yay, it's a win for the people, right? So that's kind of that story. I'll probably make a video going into that IRS rule. That's kind of a dedicated video to that topic. There are three kind of new trending side hustles I've seen a lot of people talking about. One is shrimp farming, basically growing freshwater shrimp or freshwater prawns in swimming pools and selling them to restaurants or selling them at farmers markets. That's probably the most expensive of these three side hustles we're going to be talking about to get started, but it's still a pretty cheap side hustle to get started, and I've heard some people making pretty good money. There's not a ton of information on the internet about how to do this or what type of agricultural licenses you would need, if any at all. But that's a side hustle that's kind of trending. Another one is growing microgreens and selling microgreens to restaurants. And another one is growing mushrooms, edible mushrooms, gourmet mushrooms, and selling those to restaurants. One cool thing about these three side hustles is with a lot of side hustles or with a lot of businesses, a bigger company can kind of dominate the industry. because microgreens and mushrooms and even shrimp, they don't transport well, they don't ship well. It's a very localized business. So you're only competing with the people in your direct area. I'm not going to go into too much more into depth on these side hustles, but those are some things where if you're looking for an opportunity, you're looking for a side hustle, you may want to look into those things. I saw somebody with an interesting affiliate marketing strategy the other day. I manage affiliate programs for a number of different businesses and brands, and one new affiliate kind of had an interesting strategy that I hadn't really seen people utilize before. So what he was doing, or he or she was doing, they were making videos and making blogs that were kind of like FAQ tutorials for how to use various websites. So let's just say, for example, a company like Fashion Nova, right? Fashion Nova sells clothes. Seems very boring. I don't think it would be very fun, but I think I could see how he would rank well and make money. So he would write a blog about like how to track your order from Fashion Nova, and he would include he would describe how to do it, and he would also include screenshots to, first click the button that says My Account at the top right of the screen, and he would show a screenshot of that. Then navigate to the part of the screen that says Orders. Click that. Look for the tracking number, click the tracking number. But he basically just makes these guides on how to use popular websites, how to contact customer service, what their phone number is, types of information like this. And because nobody else is really creating content like that, oftentimes not even companies themselves instructing people on how to use their own websites, he ranks pretty well, and I imagine he's going to make pretty good money. So I thought that was kind of an interesting affiliate strategy. We're kind of hopping around here. The stock market was down a little bit yesterday. The market's been very kind of weird. Anytime people think that the Fed might pivot, markets rally, then markets fall. We're kind of continuing to see lower highs and lower lows, which is a sign that the market's likely going to be going down in 2023. Markets have been acting on hopium. We got a Fed rate hike coming up next week. Everybody's expecting 0.5, but it could be 0.75% rate hike. I'm guessing 0.5 markets will probably rally again. 0.75 markets will probably pull back. Let's talk a little bit about Shopify. So one story that's trending right now is so Shopify. You guys all know what Shopify is. Shopify is an e-commerce platform. Apparently, there's a big uproar. A lot of people are calling on Shopify to take down a store. I guess the libs of TikTok. It's a TikTok account that reposts videos of kind of crazy things. So I'm not on TikTok and I'm not on Twitter, where most of these videos and most of this content is shared. So I'm not super familiar with them. Although I did happen to see a video from libs of TikTok the other day, and here's just to kind of give you an idea of what this is. So a lot of people are saying that they're like hateful towards trans people or gay people or whatever else. But really all they do is repost videos posted by other people. So I saw one video, it was a Texas school board meeting. And you know how you're starting to hear now about how, either public libraries or even school libraries are starting to get some like really racy books. And it kind of causes an uproar in communities. So some mom was speaking at either a school board meeting or a town hall meeting, and she was reading from a book that's at their elementary school library. Now, I'm going to try not to be too graphic because this is YouTube, but basically it's about a boy and girl who were kissing. The boy starts to put his hands up the girl's shirt. She says, no, no, no. He kind of forces her and does it anyway. Then he tries to put his hand down her pants. She says, no, no, no. He kind of forces it. Then he winds up whipping out his thing, and she starts rubbing it. And I guess she was saying like, no, trying to stop it. And then he stuffed his thing in her mouth. And then she began sucking on it. Now, this is a book that's in an elementary school library. And again, I forget whether it was the school board or town hall, but whoever was managing this meeting was like, ma'am, stop. They cut her microphone. They were like, do you not realize there's a child in the room? And everybody in the room burst out laughing. But how can you put a graphic erotica sexual book for kids in an elementary school library and then tell somebody, there's a child in the room when somebody's reading the book that they put in a kid's library for kids to read? So that's kind of the type of content that libs of TikTok winds up putting out. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that Shopify has taken down somebody's store. Following the January 6th thing, Shopify took down Donald Trump's store. There's been a number of kind of like right-leaning / libertarian t-shirt shops that have been taken down by Shopify. Now, if you have a WordPress site, if you own and host your own website, there's really the only person who can kind of come after you is your payment processor. Could potentially stop your payment processing, but they typically don't do that. So what's kind of dangerous is, people are building businesses and building websites on Shopify. And then if Shopify kind of starts deciding, oh, we don't like your business, we're going to take down your store, you're hurting somebody's livelihood. You're hurting the store that they've built up. They're having to migrate over to another platform, which is a huge headache. So a lot of people are calling for the libs of TikTok Shopify store to be taken down. But at least at this point, Shopify is saying, no, it's not a hateful site. We're not going to wind up taking it down. And I think anybody who operates on Shopify should be happy about this, because regardless of how you feel about the libs of TikTok, if Shopify is going to start taking down stores, your store may be next. So Shopify is apparently testing an all search feature that would basically allow customers to, I assume, go on Shopify.com and search for a pair of earrings, and they'd be able to search every store on the Shopify platform who sells earrings. So it would basically, even though you have your own Shopify store, it would turn Shopify into kind of an ecosystem like eBay or Amazon. Some people think this is a cool idea and that it will wind up bringing more traffic to their store. Other people are wondering, what stores is Shopify going to favor? Is Shopify going to favor large corporations and large stores over small stores? I'm guessing some element of paid advertising would come in, and then basically whoever has the biggest pockets is going to kind of get all the attention. Some people are liking this idea, some people aren't. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So Indonesia, this is some kind of world news, not really business related, but Indonesia has banned sex outside of marriage as well as cohabitation outside of marriage. I just thought that was kind of a crazy story. I think to those of us in the West and those of us in the U.S., it seems kind of crazy. How can you ban sex outside of marriage? But is it really any crazier than our government telling people you can't grow this plant, or you can't eat this plant, or you can't smoke this plant? In my opinion, not really. Another thing that I thought was kind of funny, one thing I notice in social media discourse these days is everybody loves calling each other fascists, right? If somebody says something you don't like, you just call them a fascist and shut down the conversation. Donald Trump's a fascist, the Republicans are fascist, this is fascist, that's fascist. I saw somebody on Reddit the other day was upset about AI art. They said AI art is kind of taking away the livelihoods of real artists, and they said AI art is fascism. And I was like, I don't think you understand what fascism means. But one thing that I thought was funny is everyone's like, this is fascist, that's fascist, Donald Trump's a fascist. But it strikes me that these same type of people who call everything fascist are probably still going to travel to Bali, spend their money in Indonesia, even though Indonesia seems to be somewhat of a fascist country. Let's see. Elon Musk is being accused of censoring Ukraine on Twitter. I think more than likely he's just not pushing it like it was being pushed before. There were a number of studies and articles that came out back in September and October that talked about 90% of the bot activity on Twitter was pushing the Ukrainian agenda and pro-Ukraine. And so I don't think Elon Musk is censoring Ukraine so much as, unlike the people who are formerly running Twitter, Ukraine's just not the front and center story that we have to be concerned about 24/7. I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but I also realize that there's kind of this concerted effort of everybody to hate and go after Elon Musk. As soon as he took over Twitter, all these individual companies said they were pulling advertising. Media buying companies said they were pulling advertising. We're starting to see all these hit pieces about how, janitors at Tesla say they're not treated well. These people don't like Elon Musk. That person doesn't like Elon Musk. It's now Elon Musk is under pressure for his Neuralink company. And apparently the testing that they did on monkeys and other animals, they were like shocking monkeys and things like that. Now, I am not a big fan of animal testing by any means, but it's interesting everybody is up in arms about Elon Musk, and we didn't really hear much about Dr. Fauci torturing beagles. You remember Dr. Fauci had some experiment, I think it was down in the Caribbean, and it was basically a pointless experiment that served no purpose, but he was literally letting maggots eat away at beagles' ears and brains while they were living, torturing beagles. Really, really kind of a disgusting story. And where was the outrage about that? In other news, I'm not going to get too much into this one, but it seems that the focus is starting to shift away from Ukraine and over to Taiwan. I think a lot of our support may wind up kind of waning and leaving Ukraine, but now we're going to start arming Taiwan. So that's the next big story to be on the lookout for. I think everybody kind of knew this, but it's come out recently that a top Marine recruiter just came out and admitted that one of the reasons that the Marines and the military overall are suffering with recruitment is because of the thing in your arm mandate. Now, in fairness, pretty much all branches of the military have been struggling with enlistment for a long time. Nobody wants to join the military. Nobody wants to join the Navy. Why would you? Our country's kind of a mess. I don't want to go fight for Israel or Ukraine or anybody else, right? The military should be about supporting our country and our people, and who wants to go sign up to save Ukraine? Not I. I saw the Navy also recently upped their enlistment age to 41. Let's see, kind of more into the economy and economic news. Jamie Dimon warns of inflation. He says it could drag us into a recession, as if we're not in a recession already. Jamie Dimon went on to say businesses and people's finances are still strong. And U.S. Bank is also warning of a recession in 2023. Now, even though Jamie Dimon tells us that that individual spending power is still strong and businesses are still doing well, 41% of small businesses could not pay their rent in November. 50% of restaurants could not pay their rent in November. In November, 20 million households could not pay their utilities. Consumer spending is not remaining strong. Jamie Dimon and even the Fed are saying that people are hoarding relief funds. They're saying that people still have their COVID money. Personally, I don't think that's true, but that's what they're saying. Though they are saying that money will run out in 2023. So what happens when everybody runs out of this COVID money they've been hoarding? We know that debt levels are up, savings rates are down, and 2023 is likely going to be a very, very ugly year. We've talked about, has inflation changed people's spending habits? And in a lot of ways, we hadn't really seen it. However, Zero Hedge had an article recently, and it talked about how more wealthy Americans are shopping at discount supermarkets, specifically Aldi. The use in the shopping at discount supermarkets has exploded earlier this year, so over the past couple months. And the reason for this is 19 months of negative real wage growth. So even if you got a raise at work, even if fast food workers are being paid more because they're having trouble attracting people, ultimately inflation is so large that no matter what type of raise you're getting at work, it's not keeping up with inflation. So what you're seeing is people who maybe in the past would have shopped at Whole Foods or Jewel Osco or whatever other grocery store that's a little bit more expensive, those people are now shopping at Aldi. This one isn't as interesting to me, but I saw there was a YouTuber, and I think he also posted it on Instagram. There was a guy who went through the Ford website, and he was basically building out different cars. So he'd build out an F-150, he'd build out an F-250, he built out an F-350, and he wasn't really going over the top with add-ons and additional packages. But I think the average payment right now for an F-150 is somewhere between $800 and $900. That not the house I'm living in now, but the house that I lived in previously, my mortgage was $800 and something dollars. So a Ford F-150 is essentially going to cost you a mortgage payment. I think the F-250 he built out, even with $10,000 down, 5% interest, like 40-something month financed, you were looking at $1,200. Build out an F-350, the payment went up to $1,800. And again, that's with $10,000 down. I see F-150s and F-250s and F-350s all over the road. Like, where is everybody getting the money to buy these cars? And what's going to happen to all of these vehicles and these loans in 2023 when layoffs start and the economy gets worse? Let's talk a little bit about OnlyFans. So OnlyFans has grown into an entire economy, right? Like you have people who you have women who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on OnlyFans. You have agencies that help manage OnlyFans. You have people selling courses about how to make money on OnlyFans. You have these spin-off websites like OnlyFeet that are specifically for people to sell feet pictures. OnlyFans has grown into an economy in and of itself. But what's going to happen to OnlyFans in 2023 when layoffs hit, when we continue to get beat down with inflation? Is that going to cause people to stop supporting OnlyFans creators? Or is that like other vices like drugs, cigarettes, gambling, where it's one of the last things for people to cut? You know, in 2023, when layoffs start and a recession gets really ugly, you know, are people going to turn to OnlyFans and spend more money on there to kind of soothe themselves, or are people going to stop spending money on OnlyFans? And if so, what are all of these OnlyFans models going to do? I saw 2 interesting articles about OnlyFans recently. One is a single mom who was on food stamps is now earning $100K a month on OnlyFans. And in another interesting story, there's a Turkish influencer. She had traveled to Amsterdam, went to some sex museum, took some risque photos, but apparently, even though she wasn't in Turkey, it violated Turkish obscenity laws, and she is potentially spending 5 months in jail. Now, I thought this was a really interesting story. So, somewhat related to OnlyFans, just because of this connection that I'm going to make. So, the World Cup just happened. I believe the U.S. just got knocked out. But something that's going to happen, we're going to call this story soccer alimony. The men's World Cup team is going to have to share their winnings with the women's World Cup team for, you know, equality, and because female athletes don't make as much as male athletes. Now, you know, in society, we want equal opportunity. Everybody should have the same opportunities, but we don't necessarily want equality of outcome. Equality of outcome is, even if you don't work hard, you still get the same reward or the same prize or the same amount of money as somebody who didn't work hard, because we want a level playing field and we want everything to be fair. Now, fairness is everybody having an equal opportunity. The people who work harder are going to get more, and that's why we shouldn't have equality of outcome. Anyhow, the women soccer team, the women U.S. soccer team, they negotiated their own contract. They were happy with their own contract. However, after the fact, they want to whine that they're not making enough money. So the men's World Cup team is going to have to share their winnings with the women's World Cup team. You know, obviously, there's always more interest in men's sports. The NBA makes a lot more money than the WNBA. But I thought, just to kind of flip this idea on its side, women are better at selling pussy than guys are at selling dicks. So what if all these female OnlyFans creators had to give half of their earnings to the male creators over at OnlyFans, because the males don't make as much money, right? Like, I think most people would look at that as silly, but it isn't any sillier than what's going on with the men and women's U.S. soccer teams. Kind of back to the economy, job cuts surge 127% in November. Economists are also now expecting a recession. Before they were saying 50-50, maybe not. We're now expecting a recession. If you're worried about a recession and layoffs, Jim Cramer says he's expecting mass layoffs after the holidays. Now, there's kind of a running joke that Jim Cramer is always wrong about everything, so maybe this will be a bright light for you guys. Jim Cramer is expecting layoffs. Maybe that means they won't happen. Let's see, there's been kind of a surge of white-collar layoffs. Back during the Mexican beer cough, a lot of people in the service industry, hospitality industry, travel industry, they were the ones getting laid off. Well, now it is white-collar workers getting laid off. We have white-collar layoffs at Amazon, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Intel, Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Phillips 66, and the Walt Disney Company. As far as the crypto space, Kraken is laying off employees, as is Bybit and Coinbase. Coinbase is also hiring or instituting a hiring freeze. BuzzFeed is laying off 12% of their staff. And you got to keep in mind, BuzzFeed, not only do they have free writers, but they have a history of stealing content from people and copying content off of the internet. So they shouldn't even have that big of a staff to begin with, but they're laying off 12% of their staff. The list goes on and on. Stripe, Chime, Robinhood, Snap, and Tesla. Since we mentioned Robinhood, this wasn't part of the video, but Robinhood has recently announced that they're going to be doing a 1% match on IRAs. So if you open up an IRA with Robinhood, they'll match you up to 1%. I would recommend not taking them up on this. Robinhood's just a shitty company who has a history of screwing over their users. 2, you guys remember a while back when Robinhood rolled out a high-interest savings account or high-interest money market account. It came out a couple weeks after that what they did was illegal, and they shut down that program. I think this is kind of a gimmick to get people over to Robinhood. Once you open up an IRA with Robinhood, you're kind of locked in over there. You're probably not going to move it. I have a feeling this is something they're going to let ride for 3 months or 6 months, probably no longer than a year, and then they'll take it away. And if you move over to Robinhood just for this 1% match, and then it eventually goes away, well, now you're kind of stuck over at Robinhood without that additional benefit. Next year in 2023, which at this point is only about 3 weeks away, FedEx will be hiking their rate 7%. That means the cost, if you're in e-commerce, the cost of everything you ship is going to be 7% higher. If you offer free shipping, that's going to cut into your profits. It's going to cut into your margins. And if you buy things online that are shipped via FedEx, everything is going to cost you 7% more. Amazon's layoffs are going to be bigger than expected. They're going to be laying off 20,000 people, not 20%, 20,000 people by Christmas. And the layoffs will continue into the new year. Wells Fargo Mortgage Department is seeing big layoffs as well as most major media. CNN is doing a bunch of layoffs, and I've heard that they've recently hired a bunch of added security. So not sure if they're worried that someone who is upset they got laid off is going to come cause chaos at their offices, but they're hiring extra security. I've talked about this story a number of times. FedEx has furloughed a lot of their freight drivers this week, which is kind of unheard of around the Christmas season. DoorDash has cut 1,250 jobs, or 6% of the company. There's been a lot of backlash against TikTok. There's been some talk of banning TikTok. I believe like the military, the State Department, a lot of the federal government departments have already banned putting TikTok on devices. We know that the company behind TikTok stores a lot of their data over in Taiwan. We also know that they're tracking the movements and geolocations of Americans, and also their keylogging. I believe the FTC recommends if you've downloaded TikTok on your phone, they recommend, this is kind of crazy, nobody's going to do this, they recommend not only deleting TikTok, but actually getting a new phone. Now, how many people are going to go get a new phone after they delete TikTok? Probably not a lot, but that's actually what the FTC is recommending. And yesterday it came out that the state of Maryland has banned TikTok on all government devices. So this kind of movement against TikTok is growing. Will TikTok wind up going away? Probably not, but I wouldn't be shocked by it. Nike has cut ties with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has been a Nike athlete since 2014. Obviously, everybody's mad at Kyrie Irving for tweeting a link to a documentary on Amazon about how a lot of the people who owned slave markets and slave ships were Jewish. I don't know, I haven't looked into that. I don't know how truthful that is, but there's a documentary on Amazon. Kyrie tweeted it. He's being called anti-Semitic for tweeting it. He was kicked out of the NBA for a short while until he gave a bunch of money and apologized to the ADL. But Nike has cut ties with him, and they will not be putting out his most recent shoe. I saw the other day the Amazon CEO came out and said, we're not taking down this movie. So it's funny that everybody gets upset with Kyrie Irving for tweeting a link to a movie, but nobody gets upset with Amazon for actually making the movie available and profiting off the movie. China was accused the other day of spamming social media to drown out protesters. And one thing that kind of was kind of interesting is a lot of times when you see something negative trend about Joe Biden or the Hunter Biden laptop or something starts trending that makes the left look bad, what people wind up doing is basically spamming that hashtag to kind of drown out like a legitimate criticism. Another thing, a lot of times you'll see like K-pop people kind of like take over trending hashtags and kind of drowned out whatever that message is. So I just thought it's kind of ironic that, the left in America kind of does the same thing that they're upset at China for doing. All these lockdowns and things like that in China are kind of crazy. This video is already running kind of long, so we probably won't get too deep into that. Apparently, Apple is leaving China. They're going to start putting together their phones or manufacturing their phones in India. But why would China allow Apple to leave? Why would China want those jobs to leave? Why would China want all that business to leave China? Is there something bigger going on? Like, is the Mexican beer cough, scarier than we all know? And that's why they're so freaked out, and that's why they're locking people down. Are they trying to further implement social credit scores? Is this a test of authoritarianism that the WEF wants to push further across the globe. But everything going on in China is very, very weird. Let's see, the CDC is encouraging masking again. I don't think most people will go along with it. I think if masks were going to come back, it probably would have happened in the fall, right? We've already kind of, we're still in winter time. This is kind of cold and flu season. But a lot of the cold and flu season is maybe like November, December. So we're already, a couple months into cold and flu season, and when the Mexican beer cough kind of ticks up, and we haven't really seen any cities, states, businesses, etc., implement mask mandates. So I don't think we'll see them, but the CDC is encouraging mask mandates. And LA County in California, they continue to threaten, we're going to bring back the mask mandate. So we'll see what winds up happening with that. Even though a lot of streaming services are struggling with not only with inflation and people trying to cut back on their budgets, but there's more competition out there than ever among streaming services. But one who's actually doing pretty well, NBC's Peacock, has grown to 18 million subs about 3 months ago, back in September. They were at 15 million subs. So while a lot of streaming services are struggling to bring on new users, Peacock seems to be growing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Another story, Adobe is now accepting AI art into their stock photo library. AI art is kind of a controversial thing right now. I know initially somebody had tried to file a trademark on a piece of AI created art. I believe the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, whatever it is, had initially said, no, we won't allow the trademarking of AI art. But then they eventually did wind up allowing somebody to file a copyright or a trademark on a piece of AI art. I don't know if you guys have played around with AI art. There's some different tools out there where you can make AI art and AI music. Maybe an opportunity to make some money. Might be something worthwhile to look into. And then lastly, in some of these recent videos, we've been talking about kind of the lawlessness across the country. So we've been hearing from Target and Walmart that shoplifting is up 50% recently. There's just this kind of atmosphere of lawlessness going around. I mean, in Chicago, over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of shootings on the Mag Mile, on Michigan Avenue, on the Gold Coast, which is a luxury shopping area. That rapper FGB Duck got shot outside I don't know if it was a Prada store, Gucci store, whatever. But kind of all of our cities have this sense of lawlessness. I was in Seattle not too long ago, and Seattle's just crazy. I mean, people are shooting up on the sidewalk, smoking crack on the sidewalk, and we're not talking about in a bad neighborhood. We're talking about right down by the fish market, right outside of the Hilton Hotel or the W Hotel. So there's this sense of kind of lawlessness across the country, but Walmart and Target have said if the shoplifting increases, they're going to have to start shutting down certain stores, and they're also going to have to start raising prices to account for all the shoplifting. So that's kind of all the stories that I have to share with you guys for today. Again, today is Wednesday, December 7th. As always, I'd love to hear your comments. So if you guys want to add something to this story, if there's something I left out, maybe there's a piece of news I didn't mention, or you want to comment on any of these stories that we talked about, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below and ring the bell, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.